Rebuilding a Stuart Major Beam engine, part 11. Commencing assembly of the engine, I check the tolerances of every part as they are fitted, and make sure that all of the parts are in the right place. Fitting the piston was a very simple operation. I modify the pipe from the water pump to take a pressure union. As each part goes back together, I'm having a close look at it. Even this unassuming bit. This is a block that fastens to the bed plate that locates the cylinder. It's a very good way of mounting the cylinder, a very strong way of mounting the cylinder, because the cylinder is supported not only around the outside edge, which is the normal way, but in the middle by this block. And this block is not what it seems. The block tapers, and it tapers towards the drain cock, so I presume that's to just allow all the water to run to the bottom of the cylinder and blow out of the drain cock, rather than lay about in a puddle at the bottom. As you can see from the video, the block is held to the bed plate by a couple of nuts and some studs, and the cylinder then sits over the block before you fasten it down on the outer edge. The cutaway you can see on the casting is just so it doesn't cover the steam port. As usual, before assembling any moving parts, plenty of oil. This of course is steam oil, and here's the steam chest in place with the valve fitted. If you've been watching this series, you'll see that I had to do considerable work on this valve, in the way of relapping it, which makes it very flat, and now it seals beautifully on the port face. It did take a while though. I rubbed it up and down on a piece of sandpaper for what seemed like an eternity. In this clip I'm using a knife to remove some excess gasket material that's overlapping the steam chest, and I am actually using the bluntest knife in the world. This is a knife that just kicks about on the bench all the time. I'll be showing a better application for this knife in the next episode. This clip shows the steam chest cover in place. This was a temporary fitting. I'm taking no chances on the reassembly of this engine. I am taking notice of the T for top on the steam chest because that seemed to be okay. That wasn't leaking in the first instance. So once the steam chest cover is lightly held in place with a couple of nuts on each corner, it's time to look at fitting the drain cock. This drain cock is a little bit of a rattle fit, so I did actually use some Loctite to hold it in place. Not 638 or 603 though, just the hydraulic seal, which is 542. As I was starting to put the cylinder in place ready to fit it, it occurred to me that there was something wrong. If I bolt up the cylinder like this, there won't be any water coming out of the drain cock because it cannot get through the cast iron of the block. As you can see, what I had to do was mill a flat on the piece of cast iron, which perfectly lets the water flow out of the drain cock. So that's more like it. I really have to watch the reassembly of this at every stage. The next stage is to fit the piston and the top cylinder cover. As you can see, this piston has two cast iron piston rings. So the first thing to do is to lubricate the cast iron piston rings before putting them in the cylinder. And it's also very important to make sure that the cast iron piston rings have the gaps at opposite sides to each other, not both down the same side. You will notice if you look at this cylinder, there is a strange sort of a recess at the top, and if you look closely you'll see that in this recess, that is the area where the steam port enters the cylinder. This is not really the norm. I haven't seen this much before. Normally the cylinder bore is totally parallel all the way up, and the steam port just enters at one side of it. But because this cylinder has a machined recess, this makes it slightly more difficult to make the piston rings fit in the bore. If the cylinder was parallel all the way, it would be very simple. All I would have to do is just hold the piston rings tight against the piston and slide the whole thing into the cylinder. Yes, I know I could go out and buy a piston ring compressor. That would make life very, very easy, but I sometimes like to do things the hard way. Luckily, I've always had a very delicate touch with things. I should have been a gynecologist, really. I may have mentioned before that at one time in my youth I wanted to be a surgeon, just so I could cut people up while they were asleep. But instead, I became a musician, and now I do this as well. What you need to do this job is a little bit of feel. From a very early age, I've always been able to open combination locks without knowing the combination. This is because you just have to feel your way in with the combination tumblers. And I use exactly the same principle to fit this piston with its cast iron piston rings into this oddly shaped cylinder. And the first thing I need is my bluntest knife in the world that spends most of its life kicking around on the bench. And it's the one I used in the last episode to cut a piece of gasket material. An essential part of doing this job is having the facility to rock the piston back and forth, as well as remembering where the gaps are. So what you need to do is start with the piece of the piston ring that is opposite the gap. By using the knife to press this piston ring against the piston, if you slightly rock over the piston itself with the piston rod, you can trap this piece of piston ring between the piston and the wall of the cylinder, or the start of the wall of the cylinder. So this will hold the piston ring in one place. Then all you have to do is just run round the edge with the knife, first round to the gap at one side, then round to the gap at the other side, and as if by magic, the piston will slide into the cylinder. You do of course have to repeat this for the second ring, and remember that the gap is at the other side. And it is slightly more difficult because you can't tilt the piston quite as much as you could when the piston was nearly all the way out of the cylinder. Some of you out there might find this really difficult and others will find it easy. Here you see me tightening the cylinder bolts, nice and evenly, not over tightening them, and it's now time to fit the valve gear. And the first thing to do is to figure out which way around it fits. There's not really a lot I can say about this, just watch the video, you'll see what I'm doing. If you look around the base of the cylinder, you will see that it's now bolted to the bed plate using the original bolts. Very important though, when you're doing this, hold the bolt at the top on the painted area with a spanner so it cannot move, and tighten the nuts underneath. If you do it the other way round and rotate the main bolts, you will damage the paintwork. What I'm doing at the moment is removing the two pegs that hold the parallel motion, and I'm putting these in a safe place with the other parallel motion parts in my green box. I would say it is fairly vital to keep all the small parts in the same place, because very shortly the engine is going to go back together, and I really would not like to lose any of these bits. If I lose them, I have to remake them, so that's a good incentive really to keep them in one place. This engine seems to be taking forever to complete, but there's only one way to do the job, and that's the right way. In this clip I'm removing the top bearings that support the beam. I could of course just paint them all over in the same colour, that would make life very simple. So off come the bearings, they're going to go into a bath of cellulose thinners to remove all the oil. It's now time to clean up the main parts of the column with a piece of sandpaper. I'll also be going over the entire thing very shortly with some cellulose thinners. At the moment I'm cleaning up the horseshoe shaped piece. This is all about a water pipe, so do try to contain your excitement while you watch this bit. This is not just any pipe, this is the pipe that is the outlet from the water pump. And this passes through the bed plate through a small hole, but the problem is I need to put a pressure fitting on it, and the pressure fitting nut will not go through the hole. The nut does not fit in the hole, I need to make it bigger, so obviously I'm going to drill a hole with this twist drill, followed by deburring the hole with a deburring tool, and now the nut fits through the hole. Before soldering on the pressure union, I made this small brass fitting. This fits into the hole in the bed plate, and the pipe passes through this fitting. Then with the fitting in place on the pipe, I silver soldered a pressure union onto the end of the pipe, and the whole thing passes through the bed plate with ease. Yes, I know I've been stalling, but it's back to the painting. I'm running this purposely at a very fast speed, because it is incredibly tedious. And I'm being very careful not to get paint on certain areas, although if I do I can wipe it off later once the paint's dried. So it looks nice and pretty. I'm leaving some of the parts in bare metal. Apologies once again to the painting purists who know all about it. This is the way I do it, with a scale paintbrush. That way I get scale brush marks and it looks okay. Oh dear, it's finished. That must be it. Oh no, hang on, there's some more. Yeah, I'm painting the bearing caps here just to finish off. And eventually when the paint's hardened, it's going to be time to put the engine back together. Thanks for watching, I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.